in this moment as I speak. It's not so much about being correct according to some outside unit of measurement. It's just about exploring my own perception. This is my perception in this place and time. This perception may be naive compared to the achievements or the judgments of others, but it is my perception in this moment. And where my perception is on Nietzsche's horse. At age 44, allegedly, Nietzsche had a dramatic break in his normal way of being, or his assumed way of being, and he demonstrated great compassion for a horse in public, indicating out loud that he understood this horse and presumably that he understood the suffering of this horse. And it seems in my understanding that this was a departure from the pondering, the progressive pondering and teaching of Nietzsche over time, which may have been, as it often is, with anyone who is going very deeply into their own psyche, just his own attempt to make sense of his journey and his meaning and his purpose and exploring the nature of being in his own way. But the departure seems to be from a place of growing through suffering, putting the weight on the individual to utilize resistance as a sort of metric for growth, meaning when we come up upon our own resistance, we can use that resistance to avoid, to deny, to pull away, to shrink, to hide, to become depressed. Or we can use that resistance as a teacher. And it doesn't escape me in the moment that there's a lot of crossover in this perception with perhaps the idea of karma or Hindu teachings. You know, at some point you just recognize all the teachings intersect. They come from different cultures, they use different language, they come out of different minds and different mouths. But inevitably, it seems that Nietzsche's obsession with personal power, with being the Übermensch, not the power of the world, not the narcissistic power, not the power of injury, not Machiavellian power, but the power of continually refining oneself, the power of continually growing, becoming. You could cross this over with the idea of self-actualization. However, I've thought of Nietzsche's horse many times. I really have. Because to me, the teacher of the horse, or any captive animal, is that its suffering is at the hands of an outside force, and try as it may, being a great and strong beast, a horse, try as it may not escape its suffering. Try as it may not overcome the limitations imposed upon it by its captors. In my opinion, at age 44, Nietzsche gained a sort of empathy with what we tend to call in modern times learned helplessness. This idea that no matter how hard I try, I cannot escape suffering. No matter how hard I try, in fact, the more I try, the more I will be punished by the sick, deluded, injured, narcissistic forms of power in the world. You could argue that Nietzsche's form of power, or the power of overcoming, the power of growing, the power of self-actualization, is at odds with the sick, and this is my words, I'm calling it sick, the sick, injured, deluded, megalomaniacal form of power that we think of as narcissistic abuse. These two forms of power at odds with one another. And I wonder if Nietzsche didn't gain a sort of deeper empathy for the suffering of others through that horse. That no matter how powerful the creature may be, it is actually punished for acting out or expressing its power, and so it must be subservient to the chains or to the whip. More on that later.